Hi there, I'm Derek Ashmore from Asparagus Consulting. I've leveled up. AI agents do most of the busy work for me these days, and I'm not talking about using agents within an IDE like with Cursor or Copilot under Visual Studio Code. I spec out changes for my agent team. They do the work. They do vast majority of the coding, the implementation planning, and fixing the defects. I use Claude-Flow to coordinate the team. Claude-Flow is an open source product. The team members themselves underneath Claude-Flow are Claude Code. Essentially, I'm showing my team in action today, and we're going to do two enhancements to existing applications, both brownfield apps that already exist. The first is a website enhancement, which is comparatively easy between the two. The second is a rather large GoLang DNS automation application with thousands of lines of GoLang underneath. I am making this video and showing you the process so that you can level up too, just like I did. Let's get started. Okay, let me tell you a story. About 9 years ago, I commissioned a static website to list the 3 books that I've written. Basically, I paid somebody to go do this, and now I need to add a 4th book to it. And what I've got is about 9 years old HTML, a style sheet, several images, and supporting material for the 3 books on the site, and I need to add a 4th. And I didn't want to pay somebody to do it, so I've decided to give it to my AI coding agent team managed by Claude-Flow. So what I did is I put the static site into a GitHub repo, and I basically asked my team, I call my coding agents a team, asked my team a series of questions and gave it a series of instructions. Basically, the way this works is, since Claude-Flow is a command line kind of a thing, I basically formulated a command with my questions and instructions in it, which I'm going to paste into a Linux command line for Claude-Flow to do its work. But I've unpacked the instructions in that one line so that you can see it. I'm basically asking, what information do you need to add a book to the static website in the site folder? And I basically pushed the static site to a folder called site because I realized that Claude-Flow produces artifacts that I didn't want basically combined with the site, make it easy to push it out to the web. Put the information in the plans folder, which didn't exist. Basically create a plans folder and put the information about what I need to add, what do I need to tell it to add the book. Don't change the website yet. We're just in planning stage. What format would be easiest for you to accept the information about the new book? And basically what I did is I took the command line from that and I pasted it in like that, and I hit enter. All right, and I'm not going to do that because I've already done it already. And when I did that, what my team came up with basically were in plans. It basically generated several files. One of them was a Markdown implementation guide, which I started with. And that guide points me to 2 other documents that it also created. But it gave me a step-by-step process. It gave me a summary of what it understood to be the assignment, which looked correct to me. Basically, it told me that I needed to gather all the book information, the title, the author name, me, a cover image, a description of the book, a publication status, any purchase links, something along those lines. I needed to prepare an image for the book title cover, which I have, and it gave me recommended dimensions, and it told me to place it in the images folder. It told me to format the book data, and it gave me a template in JSON. It seems to want JSON, and it gave me an example book entry, which we'll take a look at in a second. But I didn't want to spend any time formatting a JSON document. I'd rather shove needles into my eyes or something along those lines. But it did give me a markdown format alternative, which we're going to take a look at in a second. And then after I do that and check it into the repository and hit the go button, it's going to take the baton. It's going to create the HTML page for the book, details about what's going to be on that page, which is very similar to what the other 3 books are going to have. It told me it's going to update the navigation for all the pages and how it's going to do that with my new book being added. It's going to test and verify all the links. It gave me specifics about what it expected the simple book page to look like after it works. Apparently jQuery is used in the website at different points, and it's going to integrate that in. It told me about what it's going to add to the site in terms of the new bookname.html and the fact that it's adding plan documents to the plans folder as I just asked it to. It's going to go through and do a data validation checklist, and should I have problems, it gave me common issues that it thinks I might have because I'm an imperfect human and I'm liable to make mistakes. And it gives me some support options if I have trouble. So basically, looking at doing my part of the assignment, basically the book requirements is I need to gather fields about the new book. I need to gather some detailed contents. I need to gather any supporting materials it has, author bio, which it already has because I'm already out there. And it gives me an example JSON format, which I don't want to deal with. What I did do is used option 2 for Markdown to go document what it needed. First of all, what I did is I did to the site, I did add the book cover with the dimensions it specified, and I also added a markdown document, which is probably easier to see in this format, basically giving it the information that it wanted. Now, this is my only book that has a subtitle, so I did throw it a little curveball. I haven't told it about the subtitle yet or anything along those lines. I just kind of added it. We'll see what it does with it. And basically I gave it the cover image that I put in images. I gave it a description. I gave it details, all the details that it asked for. I gave it the table of contents that it asked for in its glory. And I did my homework and I checked it into the repository. And so basically I did what it asked for. And now I'm coming back to the team with a separate set of instructions. And this is the same scene. It's a command line interface. So I basically compressed the instructions into one line, but so that you can read it, I've pulled it apart. Please add the book documented in masteringtheshift.markdown to the website. Please make the new book the default displayed on the home page. So when anybody goes to dvtpress.com, they're going to see the new book, which will shortly be available for purchase. And I want people to buy it, of course. Follow the plan that you outlined in the implementation guide. And execute steps 3, 4, and 5. In other words, the team's part of the adventure. I've done steps 1 and 2 by gathering all the information. And then I let my team know that they can let me know if they need additional information, rather than hallucinate and try to assume. I would rather they just ask me. And so what happened? It did exactly what I wanted it to do. It basically produced a working website with basically on the home page, the new book is front and center. It added a page for the new book with the overview from the information I gave it in the Markdown document. It added the details that I gave it in the Markdown document. It added the table of contents that I added in the Markdown document. And I didn't tell it about me. It already knew about me. So there's yours truly. But I went through after the fact. I know it said it checked all the links, but I basically manually went through and did that soup to nuts manually. The whole adventure, soup to nuts, took me less than an hour and a half, and most of that was basically gathering information about the book and placing it in this Markdown document. And I'll just remind you that besides gathering the information in the book, and if I were to give this assignment to a human team, I'd have had to gather the same information about the book. If I'd have hired somebody to do it, I'd have had to do that anyway. I don't get out of that. But as far as getting the team to do what I wanted, I basically asked it how it wanted the new information about the book, and I basically asked it to add the book, and I basically pushed it to the web, and that's all I did. If I had to do even though this is a simple static site, if I had to do that manually, it would have either cost me money because I would have paid somebody to do it, or it would have cost me several hours of picking through HTML and trying to understand what was done in terms of the style sheet and whatnot, and figuring out what I needed to do to make it work. And of course, I wouldn't have done it right the first time, so I'd have probably spent a couple hours fixing stuff. So it saved me a boatload of time. And I realize that this is a simple task. And as brownfield development goes, this is relatively simple. We're going to take a short break, and then I'm going to come back with something a lot more complicated. Okay, for my next example, we're going to enhance an existing GoLang application. Has many thousands of lines of GoLang code in it. And just to set your perspective on this, it took me about 4 months to get this application written using my old style way of using Cursor and Claude Sonnet. What this application does is it senses events in the Azure cloud, and based on certain types of events, will go write DNS records automatically for them. Things like VM creations, logic app creations, load balancer creations or edits for several other different types of Azure resources. It will go write DNS records for it. And it took me about 4 months to get this GoLang application off the ground. And when I started, basically it could only write A records. It couldn't handle any other type of DNS record types. So what I've decided to have my Claude-Flow team do is add support for additional DNS record types, namely the Quad A for V6 style networks, CNAME, DNAME, and TXT record types. And so the idea is that basically a DNS admin would configure rules for when certain types of Azure resources get created, what types of records get written for them. And so basically what I did is I needed to formulate the target for my Claude-Flow team, just like I would for a human team. And so I basically outlined a set of features, basically allowed rules to specify for users to specify DNS record types, just like they do for A records now for Quad A, CNAME, DNAME, and text records. Make sure that you include unit tests, and I want to target a coverage rate of at least 75%. Enhance configurations for basically there are 2 configuration files for testing. One guides unit testing and the other guides integration testing. And both of those happen automatically on pull request changes or pushes to master. So basically enhance configurations for the 2 types of testing so that it includes the new features, and run the GoLang lint and this locally to make sure that all checks pass. In addition, I told it about some additional details, specify time to live values on all record types, use a default value of 300 if the user doesn't provide a value. That is one of the options for a user, something along those lines. Basically, they need to specify a canonical name for a CNAME record type. They need to be able to specify targets for DNAME record types, and I made it aware, although I might not have needed to do this, that AWS Route 53 does not support DNAME record types, so that doesn't apply. Allow users to specify text data for TXT record types, and basically do some input value policing on all user inputs for any types of values that users supply in their configuration. And for documentation requirements, I basically tacked on that go ahead and create user documentation for the project, which didn't exist prior to this, and place it in a markdown document and link to it in the README. And basically I gave it some background. This project relies on a couple of our internal dependencies, which are in separate repositories and were enhanced for the additional record types in a very similar way that I'm talking you through now. So basically I put all this in a markdown document, and I checked it into the repository, and then I basically constructed a Claude-Flow command, and I'm going to unpack the command and separate it out into separate lines so that you can read it. Basically create an implementation for features described in the markdown document that we just went over, and place the implementation plan in folder plans. Do not implement the feature additions yet. Please let me know if you need any additional information. And I basically just copy pasted that into a command prompt, much like this one, but pointing to the proper repository checkout, and let it go. And it went off and investigated my current GoLang code and everything in its entirety. And it came back with an implementation plan. It gave me an executive summary confirming that it understood the assignment. It basically listed out all the objectives in detail. And I spent a little bit of time looking over these to make sure that my team understood what it was to do. It did a current state analysis because it didn't have history. It didn't create this thing, and initially it had to do what a human team would have to do, and it would have to audit the application. And it basically did a current state analysis, figured out that it's based on a YAML configuration. That's how users give it instructions for DNS entries. It basically how it figured out how it handled cloud events, how it dealt with interfaces for DNS management writers, state management. It keeps track of what DNS entries it creates so it can go wipe them out when resources are deleted. It realized that users have a template system where they can, when a VM gets created, they can use the name of the VM or different attributes of the resource that gets created in their rules. So it's planning to support that substitution. It's acknowledging the key dependencies, internal dependencies that it has, and that those dependencies already support the 4 additional DNS record types. It goes on to basically tell me what it's going to go ahead and do, which GoLang structs it's going to implement, and what in the YAML configuration that it reads, what fields are going to map to what. And you notice I didn't give it any of this detail in my instructions. Claude-Flow gets armed with a few dozen different MCP servers that it can use for research, and it can go look these details up because these are standard DNS types. They are well known, and it can go out and surf to the web and get that. And it did that. So it gave me the structs it intends to add. It confirmed again that it's gonna add test cases to my unit test YAMLs and integration test YAMLs. It's going to perform, it's going to update the NIC creation handler, which is used for several different types of resources in Azure. It's going to create several different helper functions to help it manipulate events into DNS entries that it can send to writers that are part of those dependencies. It's going to handle time to live handling. It's going to basically go walk me through what it's going to do for each of the different DNS types. It's walking me through what it's going to do for compliance implementation, because I told it to police the values that users configure in their rules, so that they, I don't want some downstream obtuse error message bubbling up to a user. I want them to get crystal clear error messages. It basically went over the integration points it needed to deal with. It's going to update the internal state management, which basically keeps track of DNS entries that it writes, so it can wipe them out or edit them if Azure resources get edited or deleted. Those get sensed too. It'll have to deal with the writers to save the new record types, something along those lines. It understands that it needs to do a testing implementation, and that it's got coverage requirements to meet, and that it understands all that. It's doing its code quality and linting steps because I told it specifically to. It's going to do user documentation. Basically tells me what it's going to write, what it's going to update. It gives, for anybody who might be a team lead or a manager type, it gives me some sort of risk assessment that might influence somebody's go or no-go decision, because at this point, this is all paper. Until I press the go button, it hasn't actually done anything yet. It's confirming the testing strategy. It's basically, and this is more for a timeline kind of thing, it's assuming when it gives me these timelines that it's more than one person doing this. I can tell you that if I were doing it, it would probably take me the old way with Cursor and Cloud Sonnet. It probably would take me more than 23 days implementation time. This is quite a lot. It's basically giving me what users are gonna configure in their YAML files, and they're basically giving me implementation examples for what they intend to do and what the effects on users are. And then it gives me some questions to address. And I basically didn't address any of those. I basically just told it to go ahead. And so, well, actually, there were, I'm showing you the final iteration of the plan. There were a couple of things that I forgot to give it in the requirements. And so the way this works is I since defects in my requirements surfaced, I basically enhanced my requirements and told my team to go ahead and replan. And I went through that cycle probably 3 or 4 times where I looked at the plan, spotted something that I had missed, and added to the requirements and had it replan. And then only when I got to the point where I thought that we were ready, I basically told it to go implement the features described in my requirements, execute the plan that it came up with, and please let me know if you need any additional information. And it basically did that. And on something this complicated, it doesn't go cleanly. So what ended up happening is a few errors surfaced, and I went through a few rounds of this. And what I did is created an errors MD file, which was basically something like this, where I would give it now it when it fixes errors, it basically alters the errors markdown. But basically what I did is I gave it the full stack trace and asked it to fix it, and it gave me a root cause analysis. It gave me the fix it applied and what it did. It told me that it went ahead and validated the linter passed as expected, and I went through, I would say, about a half a dozen of different errors that came up, and I basically hand that back to the team. After that, I went and I confirmed that it actually did add the additional record types to the integration and unit tests. So if you look at that, what was there was just simply for A records. It added tests for quad A, CNAME, and DNAME, and TXT records, and it did that, and it also did the same thing, and my display kind of futzed up, but it kind of did that for the unit tests as well, which is good. And the 75% unit test passage is will fail the build if that doesn't pass. So that does happen. And I also went through and verified that yes, indeed, passed this integration test. The integration test essentially consists of, in addition to the unit tests that get run in the build step, basically there's Terraform infrastructure code that will go create resources in Azure that will create events for the product to sense and then go write entries for. So basically what will happen is it will go basically create resources, observe that the entries are actually being written for the writers, and then after that destroy the resources and then verify that those entries go. I did take the step because my team is controlling the unit tests and the integration tests. I did take the step of manually doing the first half of the integration test so I can observe the DNS entries in the places where they're supposed to be, and then executing the second half for the destroy to make sure that it basically removed the DNS entries that were there. This whole adventure, which probably would have taken me somewhere around a couple of months if it's just me, myself, and I doing this part-time, which it was. Basically, this adventure, soup to nuts, including the error checking rounds and the planning checking rounds, took me less than a week. All right, I could not have done that in that amount of time, even if I had a human team of, like, say, half a dozen people. It just wouldn't have worked. And the credit for this isn't really due to me speccing out what my Claude-Flow team was doing. It's my Claude-Flow team that deserves the credit. And we're going to take a short break, and I'll come back with some summary thoughts. As you hopefully picked up, in this world, I'm much closer to a product manager than a coder. I paint the target, that is, I help outline for the team what is the outcome from a user perspective. I verify the results and ensure that there's automated test coverage. I still use Cursor or Copilot, but usually only to view things and ask occasional questions. Manual debugging or coding still happens, but it's incredibly rare in this world. I do have to coach my team when they get off track, just like a human team. That happens occasionally. There is no substitute for experience. Derek isn't going away anytime soon. His role is changing, but he's not going away. It's not just about increased productivity. The quality of the output is higher. Automated testing is a lot more rigorous and extensive. What I get out of my Claude Code team is a lot more detailed and a lot more extensive than what I usually see out of human teams. My defects are down. My fixes are faster to come up with. The economics of this way of development are just undeniable. This world is coming. If you're a developer or an architect and you're wondering how to react to this new world, I'd suggest that you get product management skills, learn how to verbalize requirements, concentrate on what is being produced and how you verify it, because that's where most of your work is. Give up micromanaging the code itself. That's just not as important in this world. If you like the content today, please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.